The MVP sale is underway, and that's Most Valuable Pass, happening right now at Kings Island. Sounds like a great deal, but is it? Hello, everyone. Alongside Ryan Sir, I'm Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.
Tower Topics is a podcast by Kings Island fans for Kings Island fans, because that's who we are and that's who we care about. Hey, let's kick this off by thanking our Prestige members. I want to give a shout out to Miss Mandy, 1983, Lil Mac, 21, Brian Hauser, 330T, Logan Lipper, Aaron Bort, Jacob Fix, Damon Barnes, Eric Grau, Dustin Jackson, Songstress Miku, Lack Ray, Galaxy B-Boy, Medic 302, Eastern Coaster Guys and Girls, and Justin Y. Thank you guys so much for supporting Tower Topics at the highest level. That's the Prestige level. If you want to be involved in Tower Topics, there's a link in the description. Members get early access to the content, exclusive videos, exclusive live streams, and some tiers can get some free stuff. So hit that link if you want to be on board.
So, Ryan, right now, the MVP sale going on across the Six Flags chain sounds like a terrific deal, under $100, depending on what park you buy from. But you get 40 plus parks. You get, you get the works. But I think you kind of have to read the fine print, don't you?
I mean, this is one of those things where clarity would be really, really helpful at this point, but they're choosing otherwise. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's one of those things where they're clearly trying to push you into purchasing early and purchasing blindly. And I'm a bit torn on that. A good deal is a good deal, but at the same time, we're going to explore a lot of things that have been pulled in the last 48 hours as of this recording.
Yeah, a lot of terms and conditions, they've been changing, depending on what website you're looking at, what those terms and conditions are. So it's a little bit sneaky that way. You have to really, dig in, read, and try to figure out exactly what you're getting. You go to, some parks say you get parking at all the parks. You go to another one and the fine print says, no, you don't, just your home park. Nobody really knows which one it is. And you're right. If there was ever a time for transparency and clarity by the company, it's now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of questionable. You know what? One thing is that nobody's really kind of brought up that I think is strange language. Why would they say 40 plus parks? Like, don't you think that an actual number would sound bigger, like 43 parks or whatever, unless they're not entirely certain how many parks they're going to have next year?
That is something that I picked up on when it says just the 40 plus, is that they don't have an exact number because they do not know. We do know that Six Flags America in the Maryland area, that park is definitely closing. All indications are right now is that Six Flags Great America out in California, that park will operate next year, but we've also, heard where, maybe it won't, because they pulled a lot of different things out there too toward the fall season. But really, who knows? And that's the thing you got to be careful about is, it's saying 40 plus parks, but how many is it going to be by the time, Kings Island would open in April or May?
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty confident it'll be at least 40, and I think they are too. But Don, let's rewind just a little bit for those who don't know about this MVP sale. I'm assuming that most people that listen do. This is Canada's Wonderland. So these are actually Canadian prices, but we're a lot of the times the Canada's Wonderland prices reflect in Kings Island prices. As of this recording, we don't have the prices, but this should be a relatively good representation. So silver is not really notable, $69. It's a little bit cheaper, but gold being $100, and this is the same price as like Kings Dominion and a couple other parks. That gets you into all 40 plus, quote unquote, Six Flags parks. And then Prestige is really interesting because that's $199, and you get all the Prestige benefits, and plus getting into the 40 plus parks. But one thing that's been circulating a lot online is that the language as you get into all the parks, and our understanding as it stands now is that you can get into all the parks, all 40 plus parks, until the end of August or September 3rd or something like that. But then after that, you have to buy the all park passport. But in the language right now, it still states that you need the all park passport to get into the other parks.
Right, which is supposed to be included with this deal. So that's what I mean when they roll these things out and they're not prepared across the board, park by park on their websites. That's inexcusable. They've had the merger for over a year now. There's no reason that it can't be real clear across the board exactly what this is. You shouldn't go to one website and it says it includes all the parks, and you go to another one, it says it includes all the parks if you add the all park passport. So you got to keep looking around the terms and conditions. It might say one thing on the website, when you're reading through and you're looking at what all the benefits and everything are, and then you look at the fine print. You click on terms and conditions, and then it says what's not included with the pass. So there's no real clarity there. It's a mess in how they've done this. Not real organized. It's like they threw this together really quick, because they had to. Let's be honest. They need money. So this is one way to get it up front before Labor Day. September is a big month for them, so this is one way to get that. I know that there's also that awareness that you pick the park. There's a lot of people saying this is the last year I'm going to buy a season pass. Now you see that a lot, but this year there's a lot more conviction with a lot of things that people are saying when they say they're not going to renew. So it's a way to get those people to forget about that real quick. I got to take advantage of this 99, 95, whatever dollar range it's going to be, depending on what park you're looking at, and you jump on board. But you really don't know still, and you've said this a lot, buyer beware. Know what you're getting before you commit. You want to see the operating calendar. You commit today, you don't know. Kings Island might not open until Memorial Day next year. You don't know. It might be closed one day during the week. You haven't seen what the calendar is. You haven't seen what the events are. You haven't seen what the entertainment lineup looks like. You don't know if they're going to have nightly fireworks. There's so many unknowns, but they're asking you to commit right now without showing you what you're going to be able to get next year. Nobody even knows what the new ride might be next year. They touted a 2026 a new family thrill ride. There's been nothing out there about that. With these announcements, there's nothing that's been rolled out by the other parks. What's new for next year? It's just grab this pass now at this price, and you have to hope that the product isn't any more watered down than it has been this year.
Do you think that this is the Six Flags equivalent of a fire sale, essentially? Like that it doesn't matter, like everything must go, buy these passes and so on.
Well, this is the kind of deal that got Six Flags in trouble to begin with.
Right.
Giving away the gate. Once you give away the gate, you're in trouble. And by, making it so cheap, the Kings Island fan, they're going to love the price. It's a great value, when you do it at that kind of price. But I think what you're saying to people, Ryan, when you price it this way, is you're saying we're the Walmart of the industry. We're not offering you a premium product, so we're not going to charge you a premium price.
Right.
There's other parks out there. They hold the line on pricing. They believe they have a premium product. They, know they're delivering that premium product, and they hold the line on the pricing. You don't see these deep discounted deals at Dollywood. You don't see them at Holiday World. Heck, even Camden Park. The season pass is much more expensive than what you can buy a Kings Island pass for. Starting now for next year, and get all 40 parks. So there are some parks that have that pricing integrity. And right now, the Six Flags playbook was to give away the gate. There was all these kind of deals. They had season passes as low as $59 that got you all the Six Flags parks in that. So that's concerning to me, is that, they've gone this route. I know why. They need, like we said, they need the money. So this is one way to get it, get an infusion of cash up quick across the properties. But at the same time, I just think, you're devaluing the product. Now there's, you can go to all these parks, go to, visit as many times you want at any of them, for more than it costs for just a single day ticket to, say, Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
That tells me that they don't believe in the product. It should be more expensive. The dining plan should be more expensive, but they priced it so cheap that they're going to have the quantity is going to be there. They're going to have the season pass numbers. They're going to be able to go on these quarterly calls and say we have record season pass sales. That's great, but what's the quality? What are the guests getting? For what you're doing here by just giving away the gate.
Right. And I've got two different thoughts with that. First of all, I really wonder if this is going to be a club to hit the season pass holders with. So if you or I or really anybody else goes in the season pass group and says, they had half the rides closed today. They said they couldn't staff them, but it's because they choose not to staff them. Then you're either going to get somebody sent, a park shill or something, or this would probably be the line of the park is, well, you pass was only $99. I mean, what do you expect? So I've got a terrible feeling they're going to wield that club in terms of.
Yeah. And the other thing you see too, though, when you talk about the quality in that, there's people that only go on the Saturdays and Sundays, and things are properly staffed. Just about every ride that can be open is open. And then they do post on those Facebook groups and that saying, I didn't have a problem. It was this way when I went. I go every Saturday. I go every Sunday. That's great. Did you go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? That's when you see so many things closed. And it shouldn't be because, staffing or, oh, it's too hot out. I mean, the goal should be to have everything open that you can. And if you can't or don't want to staff everything, don't open. Don't do that. Don't just have dates on the calendar and open the gate and have it be a partial experience for everybody. I mean, rides are going to break down. We know that. They're going to need to order parts and that's everywhere. Doesn't matter. You pick the park. There's rides that are going to be down at different times of the year, but when you go and you have the all season drink plan, and on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, every single one of the stands, except for maybe one around the park, are closed. And then you have to go through the regular, you have to go to La Rosa's. You have to go to, into Coney Barbecue. You have to go to French Corner. You have to go to Brew House to get your drink. That's an inconvenience for the guests then. You build these drinks, refill stations, but then you rarely staff them except for the, Friday, Saturday, Sundays. Yeah. And I think that that's a problem for me because even though I'm still able to walk in these other places and get my drink, it's an inconvenience now, the way they have it set up, because you walk by multiple closed drink locations during the week to get your drink. And that's not the way it should be. So if you're going to, you're giving away the gate, you're going to give away all these different add-on products, and you're just creating more problems, more dissatisfaction in that. So to me, it's a great deal if you want to buy your pass right now. I mean, no question about it. It's an amazing deal for you. But for the long-term success of Six Flags, is it a great deal? Is this what they should be doing?
Yeah. So my other thought also, and I hope they've paid mind to this, is the Prestige Pass for like $200-ish, which seems to be what it is for most of the parks that are in Kings Island's peer group. That's a very reasonable price. I think it's well worth that. They're going to sell a lot more. Do they have enough spaces in that preferred parking? Do they have enough seats in the VIP lounge? Or do they have the infrastructure to do the single-use fast lane for 6 times more people or whatever? I don't think so.
No, and that's the process right now. Let's get the sale, let's get the numbers on the passes. Let's get the revenue. We'll worry about the experience later. It's kind of how that's going. And, that just leads to other problems, down the line. And, I mean, I've had, great visits, great experiences, this year when I've gone, but it's not the same. And you can just tell that it's not about fun anymore. It's not about delivering that great product, trying to deliver that best day of the year experience. You can tell, we're trying to save every penny we can. And that kind of, that's what you leave the park with sometimes is, the experience isn't what it could have been. And I think you're only adding to that by making these passes so cheap. And you do know that there's a lot of people that didn't have a season pass this year that are going to take advantage of this deal. And they're going to come, in August. They're going to come in September. They're going to come in the fall. They're going to go to Winterfest. And that's just going to make things that much more crowded.
So here's my other question. I feel like somebody that would buy an all park passport in general is kind of in the know, like because they're park people. They'll go to Kings Island and Cedar Point, Carowinds, Kings Dominion, whatever the pier parks are.
Mm-hmm.
So including that free, I don't know if that'll necessarily move the needle unless they're buying a little bit earlier, because I feel like maybe the people that would buy for that reason are simply buying for that reason anyway. So if they buy for that reason, like, are you just saving them $100, or are you actually intrigued? Because I don't think anybody can deny. I don't think anybody can deny that $100 for the all park passport's a great deal. But I'm worried that the people that would buy that bought it anyway. And this may not create the urgency that they think it's going to. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And like I said, they're giving away the gate. So yeah, you want to jump on that. It's going to save you some money. It's a business decision that you have to make. But really, it's just, buyer beware, because we do not know what next year looks like. We do not know what events you're going to have. We do not know what days of the week the park might be open, or what the hours are going to be. Nobody knows any of that. And there's no transparency, no clarity about it. They won't really, you never see them responding to any questions.
Right.
King's Dominion, theirs goes on sale. And normally, when you list all the benefits at what comes with a gold pass or, prestige pass add-ons, all that, it says, you get the water park. So it was always season pass came with free parking, limited, admission. You get unlimited admission to Soak City. You get Halloween Haunt. You get Tricks and Treats. You get Winterfest. You go to King's Dominions. This year, it doesn't say anything about the water park, for 2026, that you get that. No mention. And then when it's asked on their Facebook page, they'll answer other questions if it involves selling a product or something. When you say, is this an oversight, or is it not included next year? They choose not to answer that question. And I think that's kind of telling.
It is telling. I wonder if, there's obviously a bunch of reasons that could be. And the number one that comes to mind is maybe you don't get free admission to the water park for one reason or another. You know what I mean? Like, maybe
and I saw that, they said, they said you can't make a separate gate at King's Dominion because it's in the middle of the park. There's no way to do that. Okay. Well, maybe it's not going to be a separate gate. Maybe they're just not going to open the water park next year.
Yeah.
They did say they were closing different parks and stuff. Maybe that's part of it. We're going to save money. We're not opening Soak City at King's Dominion. Again, we don't know this. And part of the reason is because as passes are now on sale, they're not telling you whether or not you can go to Soak City next year at King's Dominion. And we'll see, with Kings Island, is it going to state that it's included? Is it going to say it's not? There's just so many unknowns.
Yeah, very curious, but it'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds. And they should have done better. It was like, why would they? The number one thing to me, besides like the transparency stuff that obviously is lacking a lot, but if this is like a chain wide big push and stuff, and why is it being offered at certain parks and teased at others? Yeah. Like Canada's Wonderland, we've had this information for 2 weeks now. And at Kings Island, they were teasing like, oh, a great big announcement this week. And it's like, what if it's Family Thrill?
Yeah, but you can definitely tell that it was thrown together quickly. This isn't something that 4 months ago they were, as part of the 4 or 5 months ago, as we get to roll out 2026, this is what we're going to do. So you can tell that, this was done on the fly. Things aren't going real well this year. What can we do? We need to make sure we retained, our pass holders, that they do renew. What can we do? And this is what they came up with. And, again, we're not telling you not to renew your pass for the price that's being offered right now. If you love the park, you'd be foolish not to. It's just, you don't know what you're getting for that price.
Yeah. Do you have any more thoughts on this, Don?
Just that, Ryan, that, I like I said, price point wise, very compelling. outstanding, opportunity. It's a business decision, save a lot of money. But for me, it's just I'd like to know more. I'd like to see more clarity, transparency, from the company about, what is my 2026 pass going to actually get me, at these different parks. Because I keep seeing, in recent days and stuff, just different events being canceled that were part of why people would have bought a 2025 season pass.
Right.
Holiday in the Park, several to six legacy Six Flags parks not happening now. We saw King's Dominion lost Winterfest. Michigan's Adventure, a lot of people bought a pass because hey, they now have a fall event. It's something for us to do in September and October. Not anymore. They're now closing on Labor Day. So it's just a lot of things like that where just because it says on the website today you get that doesn't mean you're going to get it tomorrow because they're just pulling things here and there wherever they can, in an effort to save some of those costs.
Yeah, I can't wait until people start throwing it back at them, where it's like we decided after much review, we've decided to cancel the Winterfest event to focus on our core season, the spring and summer. I can't wait till next year when rides aren't open and this and that, and you can be like, I thought you were focusing on the core season. Like, where did that go?
That same language was used in 2026 when Cedar Fair took over Kings Island, canceled Winterfest. They said we'd like to focus on our core season, spring and summer. So that language has been out there for what now? 19 years.
Yeah, hold them accountable for it. I mean,
19 years. So
they could have just as easily said, we're not doing Christmas this year because we can't afford it. And at least that would have been respectful because it would have been honest.
I think people would understand that. Honestly, I think people would really understand that. But when you try to say we want to focus on our spring and summers, no, you're cutting it because you're looking to save dollars wherever you can because you have to right now. And I think that people see that, they know that, and it just doesn't have a lot of credibility behind those statements because it's not what the reason really was. Now we'll get vilified, people will jump on us and they'll say we're negative and all that, but you can go back through our history of our podcast. We got over 300 of them now. And, there's a lot of times people said we're not right and all that, but time goes on and yep, we hit on it. So, we're concerned, as Kings Island fans, about what kind of impact this is going to have in the future, because it's not a great strategy for the long term to give away the gate.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I posted in the season pass holder group just because they had announced that New Jersey had canceled holidays in the park. And I posted that release and I said, well, so far, Six Flags, Great Adventure, King's Dominion, I listed the 4 or so parks that have all canceled the winter events. I said they've all canceled Winterfest or Holiday in the Park. It remains to be seen where Winterfest for Kings Island stands for 2025 and 2026. And of course, you got some park shills out there that are like, there you are being negative again. They could never cancel that. Watch them.
They've already done it twice.
Yeah.
They have done it twice. And the other thing about when you look at Haunt and look at Winterfest, don't confuse the park's busy with a lot of people with it's profitable. Because a lot of those people that are coming to those events have a season pass, they have the dining plan, and they haven't spent a dime since the park opened in April. They just use their pass for what their upgrades and all that are. So don't think that because you think there's 50,000 people there, that they're making money hand over fist on a Haunt night. They're not. I mean, they make money, but not what you think they do.
Yeah, that sounds like a them problem. I mean, like I said, if you got 50,000 people in the park and you can't figure out a way to make money off of them, like, I don't know what to tell you. You're in the wrong business,
Yeah.
And
But
again,
I mean, you spend money. I mean, you buy the little gadgets and things that they have during Haunt and Winterfest, and you buy the shirts and you buy the special food offerings that they have. You buy, you go to the Sweet Spot, and I don't know how many times I've seen you up there not buy something at the Sweet Spot. So, you spend money, I spent money. I bought the different food items they had during Grand Carnival, and I'll still go in and I'll buy the occasional treat in the Sweet Spot. So, we do spend money. But I really think that, Ryan, that there's not enough of us to spend money for it to really, make a huge difference, with that event in terms of making money.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is also they've had Haunt for decades now. They've had Winterfest for almost a decade now. And we know that I mean, I don't think Haunt is really at risk. I think Winterfest may be. And we know that they're going to pull the rug out from under people. It's going to be, I'm pretty confident that it's going to happen this year, 2025. In 2026, if they do announce it, it'll be like in August or something.
June or July. Yeah, I really don't know about Winterfest for 2026. I do feel good that they will have it this year. I think they would have already announced that in conjunction with the other ones that they did earlier in the week and last week. So I do feel good about it now, but it's just with the shape that the company's in, there's no guarantees.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back with a hot take. Okay. So this is less of a hot take and more of a conundrum I'm in. And we've actually touched on this. It's very interesting because we got season passes on sale now, and it's the best deal that the park has really ever had in, modern history. And we also had the dynamic of knowing that the company is counting on you to purchase it early. They need a lifeline from you. So the conundrum I'm in is, do I purchase now and save some money, but I also don't know what I'm getting in the future? I mean, I've been the one preaching like, wait and see, wait till the calendar gets released, this and that, which I do generally stand by that. But for the prices that they're charging, is it worth going in blindly? And that's an open question. And I want to hear what people think in the comments. And I understand that there are people that, hey, this is a great deal and I'm going to buy a season pass no matter what. And that's great. And there's a lot of you out there. But the additional part is, and I've always said that, they run a business on a charity and you don't need to be charitable towards them. But they kind of need you right now. They need you to buy this pass. That this is them asking for help, essentially. But do you do that? Because they certainly wouldn't do it for you. Miss one payment on your payment plan on the Gold Pass and see if they let you in out of charity. They're asking you to do the opposite, essentially. Now, I had a better deal. So that's the conundrum I'm in. Do you buy early because it is that good of a deal, even though you don't see what you're getting? You may not be getting Haunt. You may not be getting Winterfest. You may not be getting Grand Carnival. We don't know what days the park are going to be open. Where do we stand on this? Let me know in the comments how you feel. What are your thoughts, Don?
Well, my thoughts are there's a lot of people, as long as they can ride the Beast, Diamondback, Orion, Mystic Timbers, the rest of it's all inconsequential for them, but I think there's others, you and I fall in this boat that, we're more about the overall park experience. We're interested in, what the dining experience is like. We're interested in the live shows. We're interested in the special events. We're interested in the nighttime show with fireworks and drones and all that. So, everybody sees the park differently. So it depends on, what your motivation is to go. What are you looking to do? So the roller coasters are still going to be there, regardless of if there's no entertainment or anything like that, or the park closes at 9. So, for that group, this is a great deal. Jump on it. Help Six Flags out right now. But for others, that it's more than just, some of the roller coasters. You're looking for the overall park experience. It puts you in a tough spot because you really have to think about it and make sure. I mean, under $100 on one hand, a great deal, but that's still money that you could, spend, toward passes somewhere else if that experience isn't going to meet, your expectations or what, Kings Island through the years has been for you.
I feel like most anybody that listens to this show, it probably falls in the camp of, even if they were said next year they're going to be open Memorial Day through Labor Day, they would probably still get the value out of the pass to go. But I feel like there's also a lot of people, I personally know, and I didn't think this would happen, a lot of people that, oh, we hadn't had Kings Island passes in decades, but when they announced Winterfest, we got them because we love Winterfest. Or there's some people that buy a pass, go once or twice during the summer, but they love to go during Han. And I feel like that if they toy with that model, that's when they're going to start running into people not renewing for that reason.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people now for Winterfest. What that is for them is a chance to keep riding, get some more rides on Mystic Timbers, get some more rides in on the racer. So it's not about the that holiday experience so much. It's about being able to ride the rides. So there's everybody has a different reason why they love Kings Island, why they want to go. And I think you just have to look at what it means to you. What do you need to get out of it? And that's going to be your answer on whether you should buy now or wait to see what it looks like.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to a segment we like to call Buy or Sell. And we've got a couple of them today. And I think these are kind of directed towards you. So, I'm going to go ahead and read them. Here's the first one. Buy or sell. The Bengals go 11-6 and will miss the playoffs this year.
I'm going to sell. I believe the Bengals will be better than 11-6. I think 13-4, is possible, and they make the playoffs and go deep into the playoffs. So I am selling that one.
Okay. Buy or sell. The Reds will win a wild card spot, and they will finally win a playoff series at Great American Ballpark this year.
I'm going to sell. They may make the playoffs as a wild card team, but they still, unless they make as we record right now, the deadline has not yet happened. Unless they make a deal to get another impact bat and some bullpen help, they're not going far.
Didn't they? I'm going to say this because I know you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, but the rumor is that they traded for a Golden Glove out of Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah, third baseman. Yeah. Brian Hayes is the best defensive third baseman in baseball. He's got the best, run saved metrics in baseball. So they've definitely upgraded the defense. The defense wasn't going to be good enough with Noelvi Marte playing there every day at third. It wasn't going to be good enough. Espinal Santiago can field, but he's not, he doesn't give you the offense that you need. So they've upgraded defensively there. That'll help them. But they still need, help in the bullpen as of this recording. They still need to get another bat in the middle of the lineup, because when it gets to the playoffs, if they don't do that, teams are going to be able to pitch around Ellie De La Cruz. They're going to be able to pitch around Austin Hayes. The rest of the lineup doesn't really have a lot of tough outs. So they might make it, but they're not going far. So that is a sell for me.
Okay. Buy or sell. Don will finally watch the entire saga of Star Wars before the end of the year.
That's an easy sell. I will never watch Star Wars.
Never is a very long time. But I don't know if you have enough time.
And I'm getting to that age right now where I can say I'm never going to watch Star Wars, and you can't say ever's a long time. So no, I will not watch Star Wars.
I wouldn't recommend it.
I've gone this long. Why change it now? I've had a great life without it. I don't need to broaden my horizons right now and start getting into Star Wars or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big fan, but I don't feel as strongly as you do about it.
You could pay me, Ryan. You could tell me right now, Don, I'll give you $50,000 if you watch all the Star Wars movies. I would decline that offer. I seriously would. It isn't worth the money because my time is valuable. You can't buy my time. So I would not do that.
Okay. We got a meetup coming up.
We do, Ryan. We do. And I'm very excited about this. So if you're listening to the show, join Ryan and me for a meetup at Strickers Grove. It's going to be on August 10th. The mission to Strickers Grove, it's $20. It's $5 for parking. If you have children age 2 and under, they get in free. But the park hours, they're 12 to 8. We want to start the meetup around 1 o'clock. We would like to have everybody that's going to attend kind of gather for a group photo by the Tornado roller coaster. And, after that, we'll the meetup will be underway, and everybody's going to have a great time. We'd like to, kind of build on the camaraderie, the community that we're building here with Tower Topics. So we hope to see you there August 10th at Strickers Grove.
Yeah, really exciting. Rare opportunity to actually get to go into that park because they're only open to the public a couple days a year.
4 times a year.
4 times a year. Yeah. So unless you have like a company picnic or something, you don't get to ride them, and it's a good time.
Yeah, so it's a great time. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody, and a lot of our listeners we do know. We've met them, we talked to them, we see them at the park, but there's more of you that we have not met, and we'd love to. So hope to see you there at Strickers Grove.
Yep. All right, we'll be right back with the listener questions. All right, first listener question. This is actually a voicemail, and this is sent from Frank Newberry, Frankenberry, as he calls himself, who was gracious enough to give us that end song at the end of the episodes. He left us a voicemail, so we're going to go ahead and take a listen at that.
Hey, Don and Ryan. It's Frankenberry from southeastern Kentucky, and I had a question. I was listening to the latest Members Only about Winterfest closing. What do you think would happen if Six Flags called and said, look, guys, we have to make some cuts, and you've got 2 choices. You can close either in Vertigo or the Bat, or you can drop Winterfest from the calendar. Which way do you think they would go? Thanks, guys.
But I
That's
originally,
a great question.
That's a great question. I originally thought he was asking us, like, if we got to choose, will we choose getting rid of Vertigo, the Bat, or Winterfest? And personally, I'd probably be willing to sacrifice Vertigo for Winterfest. But from a corporate standpoint, I don't know. I don't think that this is something that would come up in the real world.
It could actually be something like,
Sure.
lose this or lose that, and it comes down to the cost savings, that you would have with that. I think that when you look at season pass sales, for, say this was happening at the end of this year, I mean, going into next year. So obviously, you're buying your 2026 pass, but you become aware that either in Vertigo and the Bat are gone, or you're not going to have Winterfest. I think there'd be more of an impact on season pass sales if there wasn't Winterfest.
Sure.
So for me, the decision would be, if I had to make that hard decision in Charlotte, I think the decision that they would make is lose the 2 rides.
I think he said either or. For both of them, that would be a little bit tougher of a decision, but I do agree.
If he said either or, either or, it's in Vertigo. That's an easy decision.
Yeah. Which, now that I think about it, I want to walk back what I said, because if it comes down to, well, the Bat cost us $800,000 a year in maintenance. So you can either cut the Bat or cut, $800,000 from your season, which would be Winterfest or whatever, although that's just a made up number, obviously. I could see that being the conundrum, but yeah, I think that they're semi itching to get rid of some of those older rides anyway.
They are.
So I think that if they had to choose, they would certainly get rid of one or both of the rides in lieu of Winterfest. I don't think they want to get rid of like Holidays in the Park and all that stuff. I think they have no choice.
Oh, no.
And to be clear, like I want to establish this, and feel free to dissent or not, Don, but Holidays in the Park and things like that, even Tricks and Treats at Michigan's Adventure, it's not necessarily are they saying that the events lost money. I think that they're at risk of, if we spend, $3 million getting this event up and running this year, which, again, a number off the top of my head, and then it ends up snowing and we lose 2 weeks, or this winter's particularly cold, or, in the case of like Six Flags Over Georgia, it rains the whole time. Anything like that, like, they can't afford to take that. It's the risk they're trying to mitigate, not necessarily save money, right? I mean, it's nice that they're saving some money now for them, but what they're trying to do is mitigate the risk, because they definitely pull in money.
Yeah, I mean, it is the risk, but you also look at the labor that it would cost. If you're going to have the rides open, you're going to have shows, you're going to have ice skating, you're going to have all those kind of things. They're spending a lot of money on that. So you just reduce those costs as well. So yeah, there's a combination of things. So it's the risk. It's also, what it costs them, to run those events.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Jack from Kentucky. He said, "Greetings, gentlemen. Hope you're both doing well. I've recently begun a sort of personal quest to collect maps from the park every year a coaster was open. I'm currently at about 5 and still growing. That being said, I'm curious if either of you have any particular memories or thoughts regarding past or present maps of the park and how they impacted the park experience. Thank you and have a great day."
I think when it comes to those maps, and they're hard to find now at parks, a lot of them, everything's now on your mobile device, but especially when they would open, new rides, you want to have that, that collectible, anniversary years, good collectibles. For me, it was, collecting them from, as early as 1972 when the park opened, all the way through them not really, producing the paper maps anymore. It was something just to see kind of the evolution of the park, so it's always fun for me to go back and just say, I'll just pull out a 1974 Kings Island map and take a look at the layout of the park, what was there then, what's not there now. So it's a lot of, rekindles a lot of memories for me. So there was always that purpose to collecting with it. And, another thing that I did with park maps was I would always write down above on the map the ride, how many times I rode it that day. So I would put the date on the calendar, and then I would have these little stick figures. Every time I rode something, I put like a little 1, 2, 3, and then just kind of like cross and do it that way. And that's how I kept track of rides, in my my visits to Kings Island over the years, was through those maps and just kind of doing the stick figures on it. So to me though, it's nice to have, especially those anniversary years or when a major new coaster opened, like the Beast in 1979. That is a map that I treasure, that I have, is being able to look back at that. And then looking the year before, 1978, what it looked like, and you had the canoes and stuff. So it's always fun. And I always liked talking to people that collected maps, not just from Kings Island, but from a lot of parks. And, people that were looking to get rid of stuff would ask me, I've got a bunch of maps from, say, Six Flags, Great America. Do you want them? Yeah, send them to me. So, I've got a pretty good collection. There's a lot of people, across the country that have a large collection of maps, but I've got a pretty sizable one.
Yeah, I wish I had a story about maps. I don't though. I actually, full disclosure, I sent this question to Don ahead of time, and I was like, we can use this if you have something to say. But yeah, I agree with your sentiment. The only map that I really kept that I thought to keep was the 50th. So I do have some of those.
I'm looking off to my left over here, and I've got like maps of, Jaga Lake. I've got maps of Idora Park, which was in Youngstown. A lot of parks that aren't here anymore. Fantasy Farm, I've got maps of that. I've got maps of the Swordsville Lake Americana. So those are kind of things too that I treasure, is having those maps of those parks that are no longer with us.
Yeah. Mike in Youngstown, Ohio said, "Hey guys, love the show and thanks for what you guys do for us all. Formalities aside, with the recent announcements of different holiday in the park events being shut down, even at parks as far south as Georgia and Kings Dominion canceling Winterfest, should we start to worry about Kings Island's Winterfest?"
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I would worry about that, and I would maybe something like I don't think Haunt will go away. I think all the parks will have some kind of a Halloween event, moving forward, because that's one of the prime times of the year. If it wasn't a nice, prime time of the year, you wouldn't have seen them add extra dates, the Thursday nights, for Halloween Haunt. So I think that event is solid, moving forward. But I Winterfest, yeah, I think that, I wouldn't bank on it being here, for the long term. I can see them certainly, if they need to reduce more costs, they have to do what they have to do. It's not something that you can just do now because it's good for the community, or it's a gift to the pass holders. You can't do it that way anymore. It's a business now. They have people they have to answer to, and those are called the banks. And, so, I hope it's around. for the long run. I'd love to take my granddaughter there someday, to Winterfest. So I hope it's around for the long haul, but but you just don't know.
Yeah. I echo the sentiment. Again, I think that it'll be there 2025, 2026. I mean, ask me again this time next year. And that really bothers me because I really do enjoy Winterfest. All right. If you've got your own questions, 2 different ways to get them to us. Email hosts@towertopics.com. Send your name, city you're from, as well as your question, comment, concern. We'll try to use it on the air. Don't want to send an email? The more fun way is send a text or a voicemail, 513-399-7538. If you send a text, we'll read it, just like we did a bunch of these episodes. If you leave a voicemail, then we'll play it on the air. This is not an actively monitored phone number, so it's not a good way to get a hold of us. If you do need to get a hold of us for one reason or another, hosts@towertopics.com is probably the better way. Don, tell them about the t-shirts.
Tower Topics t-shirts, they're available in a wicked green. They're $22. Comes in any size that you need. If you're interested in one, drop us an email. It's host@towertopics.com, and include on the subject line, just put in there, t-shirts, and include your mailing address and the size that you need. We will send you the QR code, and as soon as the transaction goes through, we'll get it in motion to get that shirt out to you as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, hosts@towertopics.com. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with your friends for more like-minded people that just love to talk about Kings Island. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics.